Before we get started, you need to follow me over at Twitch. Twitch.tv/YoungRipper59. It's the same channel name. Okay. Had something on my mind. It was sort of random. So I just decided to fire up the camera. No, it's not like one of my stand-up videos, so I apologize. It doesn't look as professional, if you will. But I've been sort of looking at my comments, be it in both my streams as well as just on videos. And you get a lot of people that are bringing up some of the things that are being discussed, tossed out there by some of these media outlets. We got Coverage of the World, comic book review or what have you, and such. And a lot of people would consider them more of like shield media because they only have positive things to say about anything that these guys do. And quite often you can tell in the people that write the articles, you can tell in some of the products that they put out when it comes to like not the products, but more so like the media that they put out, be it on YouTube. Like you got a lot of these people that put out these theory videos and baity videos that don't really discuss anything, not necessarily don't discuss, they're just so ridiculous and that they're thrown out there. But certainly you have all of those that are part of the access media that have nothing but positive things to say. They float these crazy rumors out there, not necessarily rumors. It sounds like things that Marvel have funneled through them. Certainly when like We Got Covered puts out stuff, it seems like Marvel funnels, hey man, it's a leak. Just see how the crowd responds, and we'll maybe consider it, because this is a reality. This is what happens in a lot of different avenues and a lot of different markets. So the thing that people are trying to combat, the people that do read these comic book characters and actually consume this media or read the comic books, and it's tough. I will say that, because you're trying to combat posers. And it's not even gatekeeping, by the way, but you're trying to combat posers that have no real interest in this character's legacy or anything. And then you're trying to combat the ever so powerful media figures that can influence where the direction that these guys go in, and because they have nothing but positive things to say about anything. And the reason that they are like that is because, again, they don't have access anymore, and they can have it stripped from them if they're not in the positive graces, if you will, of the Marvels of the world, even the DCs of the world. And that's the negative thing that has come with comic book culture becoming more mainstream because of the rise of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But not even just that. It's not even just the rise of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's with TV. It's with just in general. Both DC and Marvel are putting out a lot of material that they're making a lot of characters come to life that they've been really unable to do in the past. Not to say there haven't been movies and stuff, even successful movies in the past, but now we're seeing them more often, and they're becoming more bold. And with that, alongside the rise of social media, there's a lot of people that are pretenders, a lot of people that really don't have interest in it. They're just piggybacking off of this for the sake of their own careers, which is why you have a lot of people that have no business writing comic book characters now, have successfully infiltrated, and they have characters such as, I'm not going to say his name, but homie that, because I'm not going to say his name because I don't know how to say his name, homie that writes Black Panther has no business writing Black Panther right now. None. Freaking intergalactic. Anyway. But that type of stuff happened. Everybody wants a piece of the pie. So the question becomes, how do you combat it? How do you combat these? Because it was okay. It was fine until you saw a lack of quality with some of these characters in the comic books. But not even just that. When you've seen, all right, characters you've hoped to God. Man, my dog's hair is always all over me. But you've always hoped that they would make a live action version of them, and then they ruin them, right? They tokenize them, race change, sex change. And it's like, what is this? Why are we doing this? So how do you combat it is the great question. And I'm not hyping myself up because it's not just about me. Believe it or not, there are content creators. There are also people that are within the game, be it in writers, be it in artists. You have to be loud. Doesn't mean you have to be dishonest like them, but you have to be as loud and unapologetic as those you consider the shield media are. That means for you guys who maybe aren't content creators or you're not writers or what have you, go support those guys. And the artists that are out there, or the writers, screenwriters, or directors and so forth, have to be bold enough to be like, this is a problem. I am going to fix it. I am going to attempt to fix it. They are ruining comic book characters. They're ruining these characters' legacy. They are ruining everything that we grew up loving about these characters. And they have successfully infiltrated the culture that used to get picked on for back, when I was young. Imagine when, those that aren't still in their 20s like I am. But that's just the simple deal, because a lot of the social media stuff is optics, man. It's things unfortunately seem a lot bigger than them. And that's what happened with, and this is what the advocates, the guys you call social justice warriors, or we call social justice warriors, what they understand that others don't seem to understand is the power of being that loud minority. You may not have the most popular opinion, but if you can shout it from the mountaintops, certainly if you can shout it from a position of power, it amplifies it. So it makes it seem like it's more prominent than what it actually is. So the only way to combat that is to be just as, again, unapologetic and as loud. The difficult thing about that is that people, again, that are members of the access media, for example, that realize this is a joke, this should be criticized more, don't want to have their access revoked. The writers, the artists that are part of these projects, be it in comic books or even in live action depictions, that know this is a bunch of nonsense. They don't want to be dropped from projects. And the reason I know this, I will never out them. The reason I know this is because I've personally had people reach out to me that are artists that are writing some comic books and are like, man, for the sake of my career, I cannot say that, even though I agree with everything you're saying. And it's going to come with that sort of backlash because, again, there was already a successful infiltration. So now they control the acceptable narrative, if you will. But the only way to combat that is, a couple of people gotta take some L's. And by L's, I mean they gotta use even if they're in the position of power now, they may lose it. But they have to be like, you know what? Here we go. This is the reality of the situation. And there have been guys that have done that. And again, I'm not even talking about myself. But it's not about just bailing, letting it fail, because I think a lot of people for the last couple of years have been just betting on Marvel's failure, for example. Like, well, they're going to ruin it. I'm trying to tell y'all, dudes, y'all don't understand how culture works. You really don't. Not certainly in terms of how it works with just with the power of social media in general. It's not going away. You're not going to look the other way and it's just going to die. That's not how it works. It has never worked like that. Certainly when we're talking about these characters, the characters you know and love, they're going to maintain, they'll run them into the ground. And it's less about people shying away from it. And it's going to be more about people being like, oh, well, this is just the acceptable version of this character. So the only way to combat it is not looking the other way. It's attacking it head on, but being as loud and proud about it as they are. The only thing is that you got history, so you should win because you got history and ideas behind you. And I know it's frustrating, man. And this is why I wanted to make this video, because it's like, oh, look at this character. Look at, like, it's just people got to be as upfront with it as I am. And there are people that are upfront with it as I am. And just being like, you know what? Y'all are a joke. This is bad. More importantly, explain why it's bad. Only then will you start to see change. And it's hard to combat it. This is why you guys that go support those content creators, you support those artists, people that are even making independent works right now that have been like, you know what? I'm tired of what they're doing. I'm going to compete with them and create a successful alternative. Now, some people think that, well, this alternative blows up and we just stomp them out of existence. It's too big for that. You're not going to stomp Batman out of existence, right? You're not going to stomp Spider-Man out of existence. It's just what it is. But I do find value in that. And people coming up with alternatives, because what it does is, it's capitalism, baby. You start hitting them where it hurts, the pockets. And by pockets, I mean you're coming up with maybe preferable alternatives, maybe for the upcoming generation. What it does, and this is how, even in creating an alternative, you're helping out Marvel and DC. They wouldn't believe it, but you're helping out them, or helping them out, excuse me, because they then have to compete with your brand. They have to be like, well, this person is seeing success. It looks like these are people that, or these are products that people want. So while you're like, look, y'all are not getting it done, you go support people that are maybe coming up with alternatives while also telling them about themselves. It creates a perfect storm where if they want to maintain their crown, if you will, they have to make an adjustment. And I think that comes with cleaning house. But there it is. I don't know. Maybe that's another thing that you got to do, is somebody's got to get in there and infiltrate. Maybe you go in as a sleeper agent or something. I don't know. You go in, you trick them, and then you get a position of power, and then you flip it on them. That's never gonna happen, because they're never gonna hire me for anything, not even as a consultant or an advisor. But on some real stuff, y'all, it's the only way that we combat this, is to come up with alternatives. But attack it head on. Stop running from it. Attack it head on. Because they're just going to keep getting louder and louder, and they are going to continue to ruin the characters that you have grown accustomed to, the characters that you know, the characters that you love, because their butts depend on it. Number one, again, it's their jobs. So their butts depend on it. But it ain't just about that. They see an opportunity. They see a platform, which is why you have all these poses. You have people making YouTube videos about crazy theories that don't even make sense. See why you have people floating around these ideas. We need a female version of this character, which is why you have these people. They don't think they care about these characters. You think they read these comic books? Absolutely not. What they see is that, well, it is on top. So everybody wants a piece of the pie. That's just how it works. People want a piece of the pie. The Marvel Cinematic. This is why you got people. I talked about the Black Widow writer on this channel. She admitted in an interview that she did not care about superhero movies at all until she got the gig with Marvel. They're telling you, like, I don't really care about that, but I will use it to further my social agenda. So the only way to combat it is saying, y'all ain't getting the job done. You're bad. This is why you're bad. Support those that say that. Hopefully they're being honest about it. I think that's the most important. There's a lot of people who, again, it has created a counterculture of people that are also hopping on the wave that don't really care about comic books, but they have seen that there's a market for people just mad at stuff. That happens in comic books. They don't care. But support those that are actually honest, that are actually invested in this, and want to see a change. That's all I'm saying.